this one. Then, wait, hold on. Hold on again. Yes, come. Okay. View, focus. Okay. Now, here the first question, it was sent by somebody, and Sister Hun Ling asked a certain question. When the fish opened its mouth, the horrid and offensive smell spread all around. The king then asked the Buddha why such a beautiful fish should have a horrid and offensive smell. To the king and the audience, the Buddha explained, "O king, during the time of Kassapa Buddha, there was a very learned bhikkhu who taught the Dhamma to others. Because of that good deed, he was reborn in another existence. Even as a fish, he was endowed with golden body. But that bhikkhu was very greedy, proud, and very contemptuous of others. He also disregarded the discipline and abused other bhikkhus. For these evil deeds, he was reborn in a Niraya, and now he has become a beautiful fish with a mouth that stings." The Buddha then turned the fish and asked whether it knew where it's going to its next existence. The fish answered that it would have to go again to Niraya, a hell, and it was filled with great despair. As predicted, on its death, the fish was reborn in Niraya to undergo another term of continuous torment. All those present hearing about the fish got alarmed. To them, the Buddha gave the discourse on the benefit of combining learning with practice. Okay, now. Here, the above is from the Dhammapada, verse 334, 337. The question is this: is it possible for the fish to converse with the Buddha and know its future destiny? Please enlighten us on this. Okay. So you want to know how the fish talking to the Buddha, or how the Buddha talked to the fish? Okay. There are. Let us go to this Dhammapada. And she's asking about how the Buddha can able to talk to the fish. Now, this particular story, it was, it is in the Dhammapada, and also in the Sutta Nipata. In the Sutta Nipata, Kapila Sutta, and this is Sutta Nipata. I think, if I'm not mistaken, is 13. I think it's 13. I think so. 1-3. Yeah. So here in the, you have to read the Kapila Sutta, both its sutta and also the commentary. Yeah? But the Kapila Sutta is only verses, only a few verses here and there. But the background of the story is about this fish that has to go through another hell, in the next life. Okay. Now let me go through with you. We stop the sharing, and then I'll share with you that particular sutta. Okay. Kapila Sutta there. Okay. Wait now. Now here what I'm doing right now is the commentary of the Kapila Sutta, whereas the what we call the actual sutta, is the righteous conduct here. Righteous conduct. There. Dhammacharyas. This is not the one. Where did I put already this one? I know it's somewhere. No, wait. I go back again. Let me go back. Hold on. Righteous conduct. Kapila Sutta. Where is this righteous conduct? There you are. What do you call it, Dharma? Is this the one? Yeah, I think this is the one, yes. I think this is the one. But anyway, this sutta is only verses only. It's only verses only. But the commentary gave a lot of background understanding on Kapila. It's called Dhamma, this one. Anyway, now, here there is two monks. There's two monks. One monk is called the elder Sodana, and the younger one is called Kapila. But this happened during the time of the Buddha Kassapa, the one Buddha before the Gautama Buddha. So if you want to read, you go through it. Now, in these two, there's two monks here, okay? The elder one, in terms of, he said that, sorry, okay, hold on, let me close this one. It's easier to read. Now, in terms of the elder one, it is said that he wants to feel the vocation of practice. He wants to feel the vocation of practice. That means he go into meditation. But the younger one, it is mentioned that it says that I'm still young, so I fulfill the vocation of practice when I'm old. So he undertook the vocation of scriptural study and become an expert in the Tipitaka. Okay, but then, because he is famous and his mastery, he becomes like intoxicated with himself. He thought that he's wise, therefore he is looking down on others. Then he begin to mention what is actually not allowable to become allowable, what is supposed to be allowable, not allowable, and what is blameworthy, supposed to be blameworthy, then he mentioned it is blameless, and and then the many bhikkhus approach him that you should not talk about all these things, but then because he's egoistic with his because of very egoistic about his what do you call because of his what do you call, because of his ego, all right? Because of his ego, then he looked down upon others. What do you know? You are like an empty fist. Of course. Then after that, the brother tried to admonish the younger brother, but the younger brother does not listen. Does not listen. Now, then, okay. So after that the elder brother passed away, and because the elder brother passed away, and he attained arahantship, and he attains his final nibbana. But then this Kapila, he initiated the decline of the teaching and died and reborn in the great hell called Avicii. Avicii is one of the, I think it's the lowest hell, you know. His mother and sister also following example because they reviled and abused well-behaved bhikkhus. So all of those three of them were reborn in hell. Yeah. Now, there again, now, so after this time, then, from this paragraph, just then, as a residue of his torment in hell, Kapila was reborn as a fish in the Achiravati river, with a golden color, but with a foul odor coming from its mouth. One day, all the fishermen children took nets and went to the river, thinking to catch fish. They cast their nets into the river, and that fish entered in one of their nets. Seeing this, the entire fishing village shouted and applauded. But I can't see because this one is blocking. Okay, now applauded. Our sons have caught their and it's a golden fish. The children will be prosperous. Now our king will give us abundant wealth. Okay. Then the 500 monks put the fish in a boat and went to the king. When the king saw them, he asked, "What is this?" And they replied, "It is a fish, Lord." When the king saw the golden fish, he said, "The Blessed One must know the reason for its color." And he took the fish to the Blessed One. When the fish opened its mouth, it filled Jeta Grove with an extremely foul odor. The king asked the Blessed One, "Why, Bhante, does this fish have a golden color, and why does it emit such foul odor from its mouth?" The Blessed One replied, "The great king, during the time of the Blessed Kassapa, this fish was a bhikkhu named Kapila, who was learned and who has received the heritage of the teaching. But he abused and reviled bhikkhus who will not accept his own word, and he brought about the destruction of that Blessed One's teaching. Since he did so, on account of that karma, he was reborn in the great hell Avicii. And as a residual result of that karma, he has now become a fish. Since for a long time he taught the word of the Buddha and spoke praise of the Buddha, as a consequence, he has such a color. But since he abused and reviled the bhikkhus, he emits foul odor from his mouth. Shall I make him speak up, great king?" Yeah? "Yes, Blessed One." Now, the Blessed One addressed the fish, "Are you Kapila?" "Yes, Blessed One, I am Kapila." "From where have you come?" From the great hell Avicii, Blessed One." "Where has Sodana gone?" He attained the final Nibbana, Blessed One." Sodana is the brother, the elder brother who is an Arahant, who was an Arahant. "Where has Sadani gone?" She was reborn in hell, Blessed One." I think Sadani is the mother." "Where has Tapana gone?" "Tapana is the sister. She was born in the great hell, Blessed One." "Where will you go now?" "To the great hell, Blessed One." Immediately he was overcome by remorse, struck the boat with his head, died and reborn in the great hell. The multitude was stirred by the sense of urgency, and their hair stood up in terror. Then the Blessed One spoke this discourse, teaching the Dhamma in a way suitable for the occasion to the assembly of lay people and monastic present. Okay, all right, good. Now we come back to the question. We come back to the question. The question asks. Is it possible the fish to converse with the Buddha and know its future destiny? There are two parts here. This is from Brother Quack, not from Hunling, Brother Quack. Now, is it possible for the fish to converse with the Buddha and know its future destiny? It is possible, of course. It is possible. The first one, it's the intervention of the Buddha's psychic power. Is the intervention of the Buddha's psychic power. You see, the Buddha's psychic power, it's beyond us. He can do whatever he wants, and he can make that as if like other people also able to hear the conversation that is happening. We do not have those ability, but this one belongs to the Buddha. But of course, any one of you able to hear what an animal is talking, you also will have a sense of urgency, And talking about their past life also, in this sutta, so even the fish can able to remember its past life. So this one, it's belong to the psychic power of the Buddha. And of course, it's good that when they have the sense of urgency, then everybody will start to do a lot of good deeds and then abandon the unwholesomeness and then purify the mind. This is one thing. And know its future destiny. Okay, this is another thing. The future destiny, it's called in Pali gati nimitta, and it is part of this karma and its effect. We have gati nimitta, that means sign of a destiny. That means sometimes when we die or going to die, sometimes even we hear of people able to see their next destination already. For example, they see fire and fire and fire, then then the next life is like you are going to be cooked in the hell or whatever hell. Even in like this hell, there are many layers of hell, and then also in the commentaries also mentioned, in the suttas also mentioned there's a number of hells. So which is the lowest hell, it's the terrible hell, and for a long period of time, the beings will suffer there for a long period of time. So even sometimes humans also, even in the present time, also we could able to see. For some people, they can able to see this type of fire and this type of torture and so on before they pass away. And this type of destiny is a terrible death. It's a terrible death. So one can know the destiny. Sometimes we die. It may not be a destiny, but it's a kind of like an action that he may perform, so sometimes, like for example, he's a butcher, pig butcher. He kills and he slaughters pigs. But when he dies, almost when he's dying, he acts like a pig. He act like a pig. He suffer like a pig. He wail like a pig. Then after that, die. That means it shows the sign of like a sign of an action already. This is like an action. That means the next life also is terrible. It's going to reborn in the animal kingdom or maybe as a pig also. So this one. Sometimes people when they die also, almost before they die, they also see the signs of, they see things, they see beautiful things, they see beautiful kind of like nice things or terrible things, not the place, but the kind of like things. Like they see a saw maybe, or they see a cauldron maybe. With a fire and so on. So it shows that it's going to be a bad destination. Now, so too when this fish, when about to die, and then he able to see that he's going to reborn in the woeful states again. So it's terrible. So being a monk also, right now being a monk, and once you are a monk, or even if you are a lay person, you revile other monks, which can be arahants, can be anagami or sakadagami or sotapanna, or even a virtuous monk, one may not be enlightened. If you can tell bad deeds, talk bad about them, I mean, those things are not wrong. You say what is wrong and what is blameless. You will say, oh, this is blameworthy. You don't check your background and so on. You become very emotional. Sometimes there are people who do that. They become emotional. They revile and they blame monks and so on. But of course, if you do that, if the monk is actually right or the nuns are actually right, then there's a big, huge karma. But also, if the monk is wrong and then you blame the monk or then blame the nuns, but you blame it with a lot of anger and a lot of emotion and a lot of discontent in the heart, and then also you're going to have a lot of unwholesome karma. Of course, the monk also will get it, not to say they don't, but just be careful, especially when they come into the world of wholesome, virtuous people. You open up your mouth or you think wrongly, there's a lot of strong karma. Yeah. Okay. This one is quite straightforward. Quite straightforward. This is because the Buddha have a psychic power, and this is the future destiny. It's called the sign of karma. All right, not too difficult. Not too difficult. Okay, question 2. Now, this question 2, it's also a kind of a question I do not want to answer. Not because I do not know how to answer. Anyway, I'll answer this also. One of the things is that, let's read through first. In the book, Footpath Through the Wild Mist of Mount Illusion, Bhante Sujiva wrote, time from processes is twofold. Sorry, time from the processes is twofold: mental and material. Also mention material time and consciousness time. Now, here the bracket one is the one that I put in reference of contiguity condition of samanantara pachaya. Bhante, please explain. Thank you. You understand what he's talking? It is not this one to unless you have the book. Okay. Now, as I said that before I go into that particular book, you see, this book is written by Reverend Sujiva, or maybe next you written by somebody else who is still alive, and it's good that next time, first thing is that you have to go and ask the author of this one first before I comment on their work, and it is not. This. If you ask me personally, if you come to me and you ask to me personally, not in the recorded and also on Facebook also and so on, and this thing is like this thing is, you can see it again and again. But if you ask me personally on a personal basis, I can explain a little bit more. But if you ask me on the open basis, in that sense, I cannot able to answer you much, because again, we have to respect whoever the author is, But if you ask me a book that the person already passed away, then perhaps I can able to answer you better. So anyway, but because that I will still answer you on this question because it relates to Abhidhamma. It relates to Abhidhamma, and to understand it a little bit, I think also it's good. Okay, let's go back to the this one. Now we go to that book, Footpath. Okay. Now this is called the can you all see this contiguity conditioning? Can I hope you all can see. Okay. All right. Contiguity conditioning, samantara paccaya. Now, before we talk about what is samantara paccaya or contiguity conditioning, the English word itself is that it's hardly we use. We only use this word in the psychology and also in the Abhidhamma. And normally we don't use this word. No? Normally this is not a very common word. But anyway, I wrote down something just now earlier on, just to understand its meaning of what is this contiguity. Okay, can you see the question again? Okay, the footpath. Okay, you can see the question. All right. Now, the contiguity means this. Okay. Contiguity means next to or link. For example, the nations bound together by geographical contiguity. Like for example, Europe is connected, all the states of all the different countries of the Europe is all connected in the sense of like they are one big mass of land, and then connected to Asia, connected to Turkey, connected to this and that, all connected, bound together by geographic contiguity. The north wing of the house is immediate contiguity to the kitchen. This one is easier to understand. Your north wing of that house is immediately next to the kitchen. Contiguity. Now understand the English a little bit? Okay. Because this word we hardly use this word. Now, let us go back to the sharing again on this one again. Now this is from the Reverend Sujiva's book. Okay, X and Y here. You see, this is under 24 conditioning. Let me go back. Let me show you a little bit. This is what we call 24 conditioning. 24 conditioning is one of the most difficult understanding in Abhidhamma. It's one of the most difficult subject in Abhidhamma. I also do not know most of them. I only know tampo here and there only, a little bit here, a little bit there only. You ask me on these things, I'm not in that area. Okay, but I talk about conditioning a lot during in the Dhamma talk, but I don't go into what type of conditioning, this type of conditioning, because this one, it will make a lot of sometimes the whole Dhamma talk become even more difficult for you. The Dhamma talk sometimes is a bit difficult already. I don't want to go and add in more things for you. Anyway, so there are these 24 types of conditional relationship, and we can understand it a lot. And then this is under contiguity conditioning. It's number 5, samanantara paccaya. Okay, now we go back to this one. The question is asked about the contiguity conditioning. All right, let us go back to that number 4, proximity. Okay, conditioning. All right. Let me small it bit. Okay. Now, X here and Y here. What is X? When you talk about conditioning paccaya, we learn about two things. Conditioning state, which is X. Y is conditioned state. What it means is that, now what it means is this. For example, that day on Monday, or on Monday or Wednesday, I talk about this thing. Or last week perhaps, when you listen, when you hear something, when you hear something which is unpleasant to you, and then that hearing goes in, unpleasant feelings arises. Unpleasant feeling arises, then the ill will arises, the anger arises, right? So we look at this as conditioning. Okay, we look at this as conditioning. X means that, for example, the sound that comes in, this is the conditioning state. The sound conditioned the unpleasant feelings. Unpleasant feelings is the why. Okay, unpleasant feelings is the why. That means the sound arises and then it conditioned the why to arise. So it's called a conditioned state. Why is a conditioned state in that sense? Okay. Now, then from that unpleasant feeling, then it arises ill will. It arises anger. Now the unpleasant feelings now becomes the X already. It becomes the conditioning already. It becomes the conditioning to arouse the why. That means arouse the ill will to arise. Okay? So this is what we mean here. When we talk about conditioning, this is a simple understanding of its conditioning. But when it comes into understanding the Abhidhamma, it is more complex. But generally, if you look at this, it is one of the way how we look at anatta. Okay. Now, what is this contiguity conditioning? Now, here Reverend Sujiva wrote, this is considered essentially the same as a birth. A birth means the number 4, number 4. But distinguished in the nature of how the process runs. For example, which consciousness come after which? Which consciousness come after which? What is next to a consciousness? For example, the path consciousness condition the friction consciousness by way of contiguity. Okay? The path consciousness, we look at that before already in the past. That when we talk about the enlightenment, we say that the path and friction consciousness, they are next to each other. So once you have that path consciousness, the friction consciousness will arise also. It can never stop. You cannot say, okay, I arouse this path consciousness already, but I don't want the friction consciousness. Cannot. It cannot. It has to go. It has to flow already. That thing, that process has to flow already. It cannot stop halfway one. Understand or not? It cannot stop halfway. It has to flow. So to for example, the next is another, this one is that, or the mind adverting consciousness condition the first impulsion consciousness by contiguity. Now, this is maro avajjana citta. So condition the first impulsion. The impulsion here in Pali is javana. Here, that means when there is a trigger of mental processor, once you got this mind averting consciousness, the subsequent consciousness will flow through. In a sense that it will flow. It will not be able to stop because of its nature. So it's about the precision in the analysis of the process, but essentially it's the same in the sense of the force of flow. That means the consciousness has to flow. It cannot stop on this one. Okay? All right. Now, the question here just now, it talk about material time and consciousness time. Okay, this is in this paragraph. Okay. Now, an interesting comment on this, and an interesting comment on this is about this relationship goes on even if the material processes are interrupted, as in the cessation attainment of anagamis and arahant nirodha samapatti, or in the case of mindless Brahma beings, asanya satta. This mindless Brahma beings, we talked about it last week, isn't it? Also during the time of Q&A. Now, time from the processes is twofold: mental and material. That means there's mental time, there's a material time. Okay. Here in these cases, the flow of matter goes on, and thus material time is present with it. But the consciousness itself is not there. But the flow of consciousness time goes on, and this because of this conditioning force. It seems absent because the difference in terms of matter and mind in the conditioning connected with time. 明白吗你们？不明白。Of course, it's not easy to understand. It's quite let us go on. Let us define this a little bit for you. All right. First of all, you have to understand what is Nirodha Samapatti. In the Nirodha Samapatti, only anagamis and arahants, and they have mastery on the 8 jhana, then they can achieve this Nirodha Samapatti. Attainment of cessation. Nirodha is cessation, Samapatti is attainment. Here in the attainment here, what happens in that anagami or arahant is that the person or the yogi which is meditating at that time, when he goes into do certain preliminary practice, preliminary conditioning, and then he goes into vipassana, jhana, and then samatha, vipassana, samatha, until he goes up to the 8 jhana, comes out of the 8 jhana, he goes into Nirodha Samapatti. And when attainment of cessation here, it means that the mind completely suspended, completely cut off, but the body is still alive, as if like it is dead, but it's still alive. Even the breathing also, it seems to stop also. Then we may think that how this medically can be, if we can explain that, the body needs oxygen and so on. That one beyond our capability to understand these things. But in Nirodha Samapatti, then the whole mind is suspended. And he can able to suspend this mind for 7 days. 7 days, they have the yogi has to get out of it. If they say they cannot get out, then the body will deteriorate. The person may actually die. Right? May actually die. Now, so within 7 days, he has to get out from that Nirodha Samapatti. So when that thing happened, it says that the body is still aging, right? The body is still aging. Then that is to say, material time, inverted comma, material time is still going on. Yeah? The body is still aging. But for the consciousness, it's all totally blank and suspended. It's actually like go shut down off completely. So in that sense, consciousness is like the consciousness time is different. It's totally different right now because there's no time for this consciousness. There's no time. It's different. The body is still alive, but the mind is not alive in that sense. So there are two different material time, this time. Okay? Now, but then you see, the mind after 7 days, let's say, the mind can still wake up again. How could it like disappear completely? Then 7 days later, he can able to wake up. Because the mind able to wake up in that sense, because of this called contiguity of consciousness. It's a conditioning force. That means although the consciousness is disappeared, but he's still able to awake from it. If not, if the mind stop, maybe completely stop already. So too, it is what we call contiguity. What is being mentioned here? Anagami and Arahants. Okay. Now, in the mindless Brahma, this one, as I said last week, usually there's no, in the Brahma planes of existence. In the Brahma planes of existence, there is no enlightened beings who are reborn there. Last week I said they attain the fourth jhana. I mean, before they come into this Brahma, mindless Brahma realm, before they come into this realm, when they were practicing one life before it, then that time they go into the fourth jhana and they're able to master the fourth jhana. With that fourth jhana, after they come out of that fourth jhana, they completely remove the mind. And they completely remove the mind. Then with that completely remove the mind, they also suspend the mind for a while. But they are not really in the sense of like everything is off. Now, let's say then they pass away. They are reborn in this mindless Brahma or Asanya Satta. During this time, for 500 eons, 500 great eons, I think so, Mahakapa. I think for 500 Mahakapa, their mind is totally suspended, only with a body, but without a mind. But then after that 500 Mahakapa, mind arises again. The moment the mind arises again, they disappear from that realm and they will reborn in other realms that have mind and body. It can be another Brahma realm or in the lower, in the Deva realm. Okay? Now, for 500 Mahakapa, for a very, very long time, the whole mind is totally suspended. Nothing. But then when they come back again, all the consciousness arises again and all the defilements will still come up again, That means their samsara is carried on. But for the Arahant and Anagami, especially for the Arahant, once they pass away, there's no contiguity, there's no next life, in that sense. There's no next life. But for mindless Brahma, they still reborn. So that time, the whole consciousness is totally blank, zero, nothing. So they are still able to flow in that sense. Okay? Oh, this one also difficult to understand. But this is what it meant by the twofold. But if you want to know more, okay, please go and ask Reverend Sujiva. He's still alive. Then you can ask him about this. That would be a better answer rather than me giving somebody else explanation. You better get from the horse's mouth, so to speak. Okay. Next one. What is the third question? All right, third question. Third question is not so difficult because you want to know in a more simple way. Anatta is not easily understood. Can Bhante explain this in a simple way? Okay. Now, just now when we talk about the conditioning, we talk about conditioning when you hear a sound And then when the sound arises, the unpleasant feeling, a pleasant feeling arises, the ill will, and ill will arises more thinking, and more thinking arises the intention to harm, to kill, or whatsoever, So when we are understanding in this way, this is what we call understanding on the nature of conditioning. When you see the nature of conditioning, then you must reflect that this is anatta. Yeah? This is anatta. This is non-self. Okay, just now we earlier we talked. Now we're going to talk about it even more simple way. We're going to look at it in an even more simple way about this anatta. Now, before we talk about why it's not easily understood, it is true it's not easily understood, but why? Because when we look at this concept of anatta, we always look at it from the view of atta. That means we always see it with self on the something which is not self. Every time that filter in front of us, like our eyes have a certain color, a certain filter in front of the eyes, and then let's say that filter is red color. But then somebody were to tell you, hey, there's green color, there's blue color, there's this color, that color. Then you say, for you say that, yeah, true. But you still see them with red color. You always see them with red color because that red color is not being removed. What I'm trying to say is that when you try to understand the nature of anatta, you always, because of that, atta is still inside us and very strongly holding on to our mind, then it's very difficult for us to understand the nature of anatta. That is one thing, it's difficult to understand. It may be right in front of us, but we do not see it as anatta. Okay. Now, in order for us to see anatta in our everyday life, and hopefully with this understanding, you can do it in your everyday life, and then you reflect on things as anatta, or anicca, or as dukkha. Anicca, dukkha is more easier for us to see, but anatta is difficult because of the sense of that I is difficult. You always took from, as I said, it's difficult, but it can be done. It can be done. Now, there are two principles here when you want to understand what is anatta. There are two principles here. The first principle is that you understand through conditioning. This is one thing, conditioning. Number two is that you understand it as without control. That not I am in control. This is not in your control. Not in your control. Okay. Now, let us look at this things a little bit more easier for us. Okay. Let me see. Now, sometimes you go to the doctor. You go to the doctor. Then the doctor come out with a hammer, and then they ask you to lift up your leg, put it there, and then knock onto your knee, and then your leg come up. Your leg come up, right? Your leg come up. Then you say, next time you ask a friend or you ask somebody, your family members to you do it the same way. Just use something, and then you tell yourself, I'm not going to move my leg. I'm not going to move. I don't want to move the leg. And then you can knock and see whether the leg still move or not. It will still move. Next time you can experiment it yourself. It will still move. You cannot control. Then that simple example is an anatta. You cannot control. It's not yours you cannot control. because it's part of the conditioning. And there's knocking there. It's not you that able to control, right? Now take another example. Yeah. COVID. Yes, this is a favorite. This one. Yeah. You go outside. You wear all your masks and everything. Wonderful. Good. But you still come back with COVID. Mana like that, no? How like that? I thought I protect myself. This one, I wash my hand. I don't go near people, but still I come back with COVID. You know, there are some cases are like that. Can you control? Because we don't see it in this way, because we always have self in front of us. We blame somebody, we blame this, we blame that, we blame ourselves, we blame this and that. But we don't see it as you are not in your control. You can able to cover up everything and so on, you know. But then it still affect you, right? Another one. Say a cancer. Again, it's also the same thing. When you look at your friends on you look at yourself on you look at your loved ones, then the cancer arises. Then we always talk about, perhaps our bad karma, because maybe we do something like that fish, like question number 1, like that. You know, we go and talk bad about people and so on. Now this life we're gonna cancer. But in this life, before you get all this cancer, you are very attached to all kinds of supplements, food, good food, proper food. You don't eat outside. You cook with the best ingredient, the most wholesome ingredient. You cook everything, and then you got this supplement, that supplement, and whatever people say that this is good. You also buy that one good. You also buy everything you have, from head hair right down to the toes. There, everything is all covered with all your supplement. But then still, the cancer comes in. Because when the cancer comes in, then we blame ourselves. Then we look at it, we didn't do enough, I didn't do my terrible, I don't know what I've done, and so on. And then you go into depression, you go into this and so on. Anxiety and fear and all these things. Why? Because you look at all those things as self. Everything is covered. You don't realize that this is part of, you are not in your control. You can able to you sort of able to thought you can able to control, but this is not within your control. Sometimes, for example, when we are cold, the body shivers. That also is not within your control. It has to come. But this is all these things is right in front of us, but we don't see it as anatta. We don't see that this is part of something is not I that able to control. Yeah. Or last time, this is only in my early 20s, you know. The lecturer is giving a talk on biochemistry. Talk on biochemistry, and biochemistry sometimes it can be very complicated. You know, for example, let's say the Krebs cycle. You know, Krebs cycle. Krebs cycle is like how your glucose turns into energy. How this glucose turns into energy, and all the phases that it has to go through within the cell. You know, so you have to remember, okay, this tricarboxylic acid and so on, and then after that it breaks down, and how all this CO2 come out, oxygen come in, and everything. You see that all these things, and that time when the lecturer is talking, me sitting there, I already know that all this not within the control. These are all conditioning. The whole process of conditioning is right in front of me. And that time, I already reflect those things as anatta already. Although I don't understand much of what the lecturer is talking, but I understand that is anatta. Yeah. We understand that those things are anatta. Yeah. So too, like for example, we talk about process. Sometimes you say that okay, when you draw a diagram, this one you do this, and then after you do this, and you do this, and after you do that. These are all called conditioning. Yeah? When you see this conditioning next time, then this is you reflect those things as anatta. It's not. It is go on because there's a conditioning state, and a conditioned state. That means one affect the other will affect another, affect another, affect another, affect another, affect another. So when you look at life in that way, in these simple things that what we are going just now, what I've said, you begin to see things as anatta. Then if you are reflecting about karma, when you talk about karma, that when you talk about, oh, this is the past life, because of this past life, then right now I'm rich or I'm poor. This is because. Then if you look at that too, you also look at it as anatta. Understanding of karma is understanding of anatta. When you break a precept, then there are consequences. Reborn here, reborn there. These are again anatta. All right? Simple understanding. And when you do this again and again, understanding condition that it is not your control, it is also not the control of some almighty God or some kind of external beings, that they are just processes, they are conditioning each other and they just flow in that sense. So if you're able to notice that in that everyday things, then you understand, at least have a better, clearer understand of anatta. It's not difficult to see once you know how to see it. It's just that you have to break that self, that at least you have to open up a window, to see through into a bit of this anatta. Now the anatta becomes more clear, especially when you are in the vipassana. Then it goes into a deeper anatta that, let's say, I talked about earlier on, when you hear the sound, the unpleasant feelings arises, then ill will or anger arises, and then thinking arises. Those things you can able to notice in the vipassana, not in the samatha. Then when you notice things as conditioning, then they are also, you see them as anatta, cause and effect. All right? Simple, isn't it? Not that difficult, not that difficult, but the reflection is not that difficult, but the seeing it now, next time we are actually doing the vipassana, seeing it is one of the most difficult. The hindrances the one that I talk is one of the most difficult for us to understand. When especially in terms of Dhammanupassana. Not as easy, but it can be done. Okay. Okay, last question. There are two questions here. Not too difficult to answer. Okay. Some of us are in the daily habit of asking for forgiveness. Some mistakes are big, serious, and we repeatedly asking for forgiveness and feel good afterwards. We are also told not to keep regretting. We should sincerely feel bad and resolve not to repeat the mistakes, let go and move forward. Okay, question 1. Can the daily habit of keep repeating the mistakes and asking forgiveness creates a negative, unwholesome register in the mind, and we may carry until our chuti citta or death consciousness, which can cause unfavorable rebirth? Next question. What are the proper positive ways asking forgiveness from the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, our parents and dear ones. Okay, let's say look at number one. Now, first question is this. If you are keep repeating the same mistake and asking for forgiveness, that means you are not really asking for forgiveness. You are not honest and you are not sincere and you are not feeling that is something wrong. Yeah. You don't feel that those mistake is something wrong. For example, sometimes for some people, they are in the habit of harsh speech and of course a very rough speech. And every time they get anything that a little bit unpleasant, their speech is terrible. And that speech it's spoken to their loved ones. It could be their mother, it could be their wife, it could be their husband, it could be their children, And every time they open up the mouth, then after that they feel sorry for themselves, that they ask for forgiveness. The next time it happens again and again and again. But then that means they are not really making an effort to change their character, to change that thing. So will it still have unfavorable rebirth? Yes. because of that mistake, because that sometimes they thought that now by asking forgiveness, everything, like everything you just cover up and move on with life. But then the next time happened again, some people thought that by asking for forgiveness, everybody can just let you go and so on, and then you repeat it again. Then people know that you are not that sincere. And you yourself also is not that sincere to yourself. So therefore, you still carry an unwholesome this one because of that mistake. And that if that mistake is a terrible mistake, then of course you will be this one. You will have terrible consequences in this life or in the next life. Yes. So now. Okay, now the question 2. What are the proper or positive ways of asking forgiveness from the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha, and our parents and all the dear ones or the deceased ones? Now here, for example, there are those deceased, and it could be your loved ones that is passed away. It could be your parents. It could be your husband or wife or even children or even friends. That sometimes we spoke wrongly or we act wrongly or ignorantly in the past. And then once we're able to realize it, because perhaps you may have some Dhamma in you right now, then we reflect back. Then we know that that was something wrong that we have done. So but then the person has already passed away. So what can we do? Then here, what can you do except asking for forgiveness? Okay, so what are the proper ways or positive ways? The most important of it is that you must be sincere. You must be truly sincere that you are when you ask for forgiveness. And when you are truly sincere, the next thing will come in that you will make an effort to stop the unwholesome action or unwholesome speech or unwholesome thoughts. Or you can able to change your thought into a more wholesome way. So there is no what proper special way of reciting or in a Pali or in English. You do it in your own way, but the most important ingredient that you must be sincere and you must be able to amend your ways. You see, in the Bhikkhu, in a Sangha, every 2 weeks or every day, if we are living with other monks, we ask for forgiveness from other monks. Sometimes we may open our mouth and then we may affect other people, and whether intentionally or unintentionally, then we ask for forgiveness. We ask for forgiveness from them. So so here so here you must be sincere. You must be sincere. You must be able to try to amend your ways. So hopefully that these people, they can able to change. So this is the most, this one. And then the problem is that when you offend enlightened ones, that is problematic. That is really problematic, because the enlightened one is not going to be right there in front of their head. Okay, enlightened already, or sotapanna in their forehead there, or arahant and so on. And then they're going to say it out, But sometimes there are people, even devotees also, they offend the person, maybe a monk, a lay person, or a nun, So and when they get offended, that one, the consequences it's even more terrible, even more stronger, because of that virtue and also the development of the mind, that when you offend that enlightened ones, then it can be a problem. Therefore, we ask for forgiveness from the Sangha members also, from the Buddha, the Dhamma, and Sangha. With that, when we are sincerely able to open up our hearts that we have done something wrong, then when we try to amend our ways as best as possible, then only your path of enlightenment is open. If not, when you offend an enlightened one, then your path of an enlightenment, although you strive a lot, but somehow or another there's a lot of hindrance, a lot of blockages along the way. You find it very difficult. So we open up this one. We ask for forgiveness. Now, in the tradition of the Burma, they have Burmese tradition, before the Dhamma talk, or sometimes before the chanting and so on, they have a phrase or a chant. They go through asking for forgiveness before they go into even Namo Tassa and so on. They ask for forgiveness. It's a long Burmese phrase. I used to remember, but now I don't remember so much of it. It's just a phrase, but most important thing is that within your heart, whichever language or whichever dialect you speak it out, but make sure that your heart is sincere. If your heart is sincere, then things will open up for you. Then only the character will change. All right? So that's about it for tonight. And before we go, give me about 1 or 2 minutes about next week. Now, next week, it's a Vesak week. And next week is a very busy week. Not for me. I got nothing to do. So next week, I will give the Dhamma talk on Monday and Friday. Friday, there won't be any Q&A session, but a Dhamma talk. Okay? Monday and Friday. On Tuesday night, also same this one also. Next week. On Tuesday night, then we have Reverend Sujiva will be coming in for Vesak Eve Dhamma talk. Vesak Eve Dhamma talk. So that will start at 8:30. Now you can sign in maybe by 8 o'clock or 8:15, depending on Sister Hun Ling will start off this one. Same this one, same password. You come in with the one that you always come in with for this Zoom. Now this Zoom we can cater for 300 people. If it's full, then we go into we still live in the in the Facebook also, right? So on Wednesday, so Monday, Tuesday, and Friday I'll talk. I don't want to give on Wednesday because on Wednesday, and also Tuesday night actually also, there are so many talks in the internet. I saw that so many people are giving Dhamma talk on the Vesa because Buddhist society is organizing this ajahn, this monk, this nun, this lay person to talk and so on. So many societies I've seen that's giving Dhamma talk. So I don't want to burden you on Wednesday night again, because you want to hear, so you'll be overloaded with Dhamma, paucha, explode. So better I don't speak on Wednesday. Then on Friday, then we'll come back again for the Dhamma. So Monday and Friday I'll talk. Tuesday night, Reverend Sujiva will give a Dhamma talk. And of course on Wednesday, you can go and search for all the Dhamma talks, whichever you like. All right. Okay. So that's it for tonight.